Welcome back to the channel. This is the Action Figure Grader. We got another potpourri edition of vintage Star Wars action figures and related items that sold on eBay. And we've got a number of items from CIB, Collectible Investment Brokerage, part of AFA, and then some other sales that I wanted to go through, loose graded as well as mint on cards. One really amazing bootleg from Russia that is very rare that went for a song and a dance, very low price on that one. So let's dig in. And for a couple of these, I think actually two of these on the thumbnail, you guys used the eBay affiliate links that I send out in my What to Buy videos. Somebody bought that AFA 80 Plus ESB Luke Skywalker. That is a beauty with a clear blister. And then the Spanish PBP AFA 80 Plus Boba Fett. And the eBay affiliate program gave me credit for both of those. So I don't know who it was, but I want to say thank you very much for doing that. That was very, very generous of you to remember me as you were bidding. So let's dig in. We're going to start off with that one seller, ABC, CBS, NBC. Somebody's a big fan of the news, I guess, or the three big channels, but he had a number of early 21 backs that sold at auction in varying degrees of condition. It's unfortunate that this one had some hang tab damage by the top of the card there. You can see that crease going through it, because otherwise it was a very clean card. And we all know how expensive early Star Wars racetrack card backs for Greedo are. It doesn't matter the card back variation. Usually the 21 backs go for the most, simply because his face is not covered like it is here for the free secret Star Wars action figure mail-away offer for Bosk. But this one was a clear blister, and it's a shame, again, that it had that crease, because otherwise it was a very clean example. And that one sold in an auction for $542. He had a number of others as well. Obviously, R2-D2 is a very pricey one. Hard to tell what's going on there. It looks like there's a little piece of paper or something that's caught on the seal, or it could be the remnants of a price sticker. I don't know, but it almost looks like it's inside the blister. So I don't know what's going on there. I don't see any issues with it that make me suspect that it's not a factory sealed example. But that is a weird one. And that one sold in an auction as well for $777.77. And again, not perfect. It had some creases, big crease on the right there. There's the shadow or residue from the price sticker. So again, I don't know what that is right there. But I have seen some weird ones. I mean, we've seen some factory sealed ones that have had like pieces of string in there. There's been some on Facebook that have been posted that have like nuts and bolts, like for assembling a furniture. I mean, it's just crazy. And they're authenticated. They're authenticated by AFA. So it's crazy. You just never know what happened during the production of some of these figures. This one also had a big ding on the blister, as you can see there. But $777 on that one. The Power Droid sold for $511. 21 back, again, with the secret Star Wars action figure offer. Pretty similar condition, just some light edge wear by the hang tab again, and then sticker residue in the upper right-hand corner again. Probably about a 75 grade, 75 plus, somewhere in that ballpark. This is probably, of the three so far, this one's probably in the best condition. I always look at the stem for Power Droids because it's such a big stem. And even this one, it's got some damage there at the bottom there. You can see right there. So 75 would be my guess for the grade on this one. But $511 for that one. And then on to the ESB card backs, again, with the secret Star Wars, these are the 21 back transition cards. So only the first 21 characters appeared on this particular ESB card back. So they're very desirable. And I thought this was a pretty good deal for Obi-Wan at $332. Just looking at the photos, it had some light edge wear, but the blister looked really solid. And probably a 75 plus, maybe an 80, maybe a low 80. I think what's going to hold it back there's some creases to the left of the blister and then also on the right-hand side of the card. But otherwise, a fairly clean example for the 21 back Ben Kenobi. The Death Star droid, that one sold for $377. That was a very good deal. High grade examples typically go for $750 to $950 depending on the grade. or higher. But this is a tougher one to find. It took me a while to find one of these when I was trying to put together some Death Star droid mint on cards, but this one was in good shape. I mean, this is a very, very good deal. Probably grades an 80, maybe a 75 plus. It's just hard to know for sure, but that's my rough guess on the grade. 377 is a good deal either way. That's a really, really good price. The Luke Skywalker Bespin on the 31 back B, you know, it looks like it might be starting to slightly yellow. I don't know. It could just be dirt, you know. Sometimes as the card has a little bit of air between the card and the card back around the edges, dirt over time, dirt can get inside there and cause that kind of shadowing effect that you see on the right-hand side. So it may not be yellowing, it just might be dirty. But this was an unpunched example, no price sticker. Very clean overall. The blaster and lightsaber are still sealed inside. And, you know, again, this one's probably an 80 would be my guess personally. Maybe a 75 because of that scuff right there to the left of the name pill. That might hold it back. I don't know what's going on there, but otherwise a very clean example. 1338, big number on that one. But that is the walking photo Luke Bespin, which is a little more desirable, very tough to get, and that's a very, very nice MOC. Here was a Stormtrooper. This one was on the 77 back A, slightly yellowing to the blister that you can see there. You can also see some slight color difference between the arms and legs and the torso on that, but still, it's a very nice one. Something about the Imperial Stormtrooper card back, really the ESB card back is the best because obviously they're part of the Empire, but I don't know. It almost doesn't matter to me whether it's the Return of the Jedi Tri-Logo or ESB. They just look so good. It just looks so good. But that one sold for $250 on one bid. And we had a couple, I think one or two loose graded before we dig into some other mint on cards. But this one was one I had in my what to buy video. This was the Spanish PBP Luke Bespin in a 90 grade, gold level 90 UKG. Let me tell you, it is really tough to get a 90. To me, are you asking me if this is a 90? Like if you sit this into AFA, I would be hard pressed to believe that it gets above about an 80 because of the wear to the paint around the utility belt, especially on the lightsaber there. That's just my personal opinion, but you know, the Spanish figures, as we've talked about many times, they just had really sloppy paint apps. The paint can rub off, even if you're just holding a figure. Sometimes the paint will rub off on your hand. It's a very desirable variant, though. You know, is it a 90 grade? No, to me, it's not. But it's a very desirable high grade example of Luke Bespin on the Spanish PPP. And they're known for like the dark brown boots. You can see how much darker those boots are versus the standard Hong Kongs. They're kind of a chocolatey brown, but very nice example, and did sell for $508, and which is $686 US dollars. But that's a very clean. I mean, I'm just telling you, whether it's an 85 or a 90, it doesn't really matter. It's just impossible to find Spanish figures in high grade typically, and especially Luke Bespin. That's one that I've never seen one graded this high. I've never even seen an 85 grade for a UKG 85, but that's just, you know, a very tough one to get. Next up, I've got some items from CIB. They had a lot of really interesting auctions kind of all over the map. This one was an Emperor's Royal Guard Return of the Jedi baggie, graded 75 plus with an archival case. That one sold for $177.50. Not a big surprise there, but, you know, the ERG bagged is very tough to find. It was only a 75 plus, but it's just super tough. Same with the Biker Scouts. The Biker Scouts are very desirable in baggies. I don't know why. They just never show up. Very rarely see those. And they had two of them. The first one was Return of the Jedi H. That was a 75 plus. That sold for $257. And then they had an ESB-D baggie for the Biker Scout that was an AFA 80 that sold for $308. And, you know, most people don't care about baggies, but you know, Biker Scout, they do, you know, Biker Scouts, Stormtrooper, Hoth Stormtrooper, if they're in baggies, they're very tough to locate. So they do tend to get a fair price, in my opinion. And then we get to the Meccano free figure sample baggies. These are very tough to get. Very tough to get. I actually had a Leia Bouche just like this, that was AFA 80 plus. And I sold mine off on Rogue 5 Toys when I was selling off my collection. I don't remember what I got for it. It was like $600 or $700, somewhere in there, which is about what I paid for it. To be honest with you, it wasn't some big, profit. But it's just a very tough baggy type to get for any character. And for those of you not familiar, in France, if you bought, I can't remember how many vehicles it was. It was either 1 or 2 vehicles, and you would take them to the front to pay for them. And because you were buying 1 or 2 vehicles, they would just let you pick out from a little box at point of retail with these baggies inside, free figure sample baggies. So very nice feature that was available in France. But, as a result, there's just not many of these floating about. There was a seller on Facebook last year that had like 50 of them. None of them were graded. But they were all, most of them were sealed, and he would tell you when they're not sealed, but he had them all. I mean, he had Boba Fett in a Spanish PvP Boba Fett in the baggie like this, and it was a feeding frenzy. I mean, it was absolutely nuts. I did get one of them. I think I got the Luke Hoth in the Meccano baggie, but I kept bidding and kept bidding. I kept losing because people just kept going over the top. And because a lot of the buyers were in Europe, the time difference by the time their bid came in, and when I saw it, because I was in bed, it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, he would accept those offers before I would have a chance. And, as a result, I was bidding aggressively because I just wanted to get one. So I got the Luke, and I probably overpaid for it. I know I got it graded. I think it graded like an 80 or an 85. And after grading costs and everything, I probably lost money when I resold it. But it was nice, and they're very tough ones to locate. But it was cool to see them all being sold off in the Deal or No Deal group on Facebook last year, because, I mean, I'm not joking, it was like 50 of them. It was nuts. So that was the layout. That was only an AFA 60. That sold at $345. The C-3PO removable limbs, that's one you don't see very often, surprisingly. Usually baggies for C-3PO removable limbs are everywhere, right? We're used to them with the mail-away or the box, the mail-away box that it came with. But for this Meccano free figure sample, it's not common. It's just a really tough one to get. So even in a 75 grade, this one sold for $330. Very, very nice there. And then here was that Spanish PvP, they call it the light blue European release. This is the light blue Spanish PvP graded AFA 80 plus. And, CIB or AFA, they don't label the differences between them, but there's like 5 different ones. There's ones where that little shin piece that you see, God, there you go. That little shin piece that you see is painted or unpainted. The wrist darts are painted or unpainted. This is the unpainted. And then the belt can be 3 different types. This is the light brown. There's also a dark brown. And then there's the mixed belt, or the bi-tone belt, where the crotch piece had a darker brown, and then the legs had the lighter brown. They just mixed and matched them. So there are so many different variations you can get. And, you can get the unpainted shin with a painted wrist dart. You can get the painted shin with the painted wrist dart and unpainted. So there's like 5 or 6 different variations altogether. Variant Villain had a really nice photo of them, so you can probably check them out on the web, and you can look it up. But it shows all the different variations. But this one did sell for $410, and thank you again, whoever bid on that. Here was the Bespin World Micro Collection, graded AFA 80 plus, $966. A big number there, but this is a very desirable one because it had all 3 pieces: the the fight and the gantry, or I guess is the right piece, and then the carbon freezing chamber. This is probably, other than maybe the Hoth World, this one is really cool. This one's my favorite, other than Hoth World. Hoth World's my favorite. This one's probably number 2, and then the Death Star is probably number 3. But this one was really cool. It had the breakaway glass from where Vader shot him. You got Vader doing the disco dance right here in the lower right hand corner. I mean, look at all the different Vaders. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different Vaders. You got Boba Fett, obviously, Lando. I mean, this is an awesome set. Awesome set. So that one did sell. Man, look at all the Lukes, man. There's 1, 2, 3. Over here, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different Lukes that are included in this. So that's really cool. So $966 on that one. And then here was that 41 back D Luke X-Wing. What a beauty. Punched example, AFA 80 plus. Thank you again, whoever bought that at 810. ESB Luke X-Wings in high grade, they typically go for this price. I'm not shocked at all by this price. I've seen them go for more. So I was thinking 750 to 950 in that ballpark. So not big surprise that it sold at 810 there. This was an interesting one. This was a vintage Return of the Jedi poster offer shelf talker. So these would be at point of retail, and then you could take one of these little tearaway things and fill in your name to get a free poster. How crazy is that to think about, given what those posters go for now in mint condition? And this was never used. As you can see there, the tearaways had never been torn. So that is super rare, super rare. And you can see there with redemption forms attached. So I guess they had one maybe without the redemption forms attached. You can see the rusts and the staples on the back there. That one graded 80. And it sold for big money. I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen this personally. It's a big item, though. That one did sell for $13.02. Huge number there. But a very cool shelf talker. I mean, there's a lot of people that collect the different shelf talkers, and there's so many different iterations of those. Here is the Rancor AFA 75 Plus factory sealed. That one sold at $617. Again, not a big surprise. In higher grade, they typically do go for closer to $1,000. So $617 was very fair for the condition and grade on that one. Here was that very rare 1993 Oratet Limited bootleg for the AT-AT driver. This is an extremely rare figure. I had one CAS 90 plus grade. It was loose graded with the correct weapon. There's not many weapons left, but I've only seen one other carded example for sale before, and that was on eBay. It was 5 or 6 years ago, and it went for over double this price. I don't remember the exact number, but it was ungraded, and I think it sold for around $2,400 to $2,800, somewhere in there. I know it was in that ballpark. So this one has really dropped in price, though, because most people just don't care. This figure loose complete, just by itself used to go for over $1,000 all day long, I paid like $550 for mine loose complete. Obviously I graded it, but I think I sold it for $550 because people just don't care about this particular figure. I think it's a very cool piece of history. The card art on this screams bootleg. It's just so cool. And the back of it actually had the Russian paperwork. I don't know if this is from Oratet or if this is to me, I think it's from the Oratet factory, because usually it's like a stamp where the Russian government stamped like the tax stamp on the back of it. But this doesn't look like a tax stamp to me. This looks like something that was either store related or it was from the Oratet factory. I have no idea what it says, but this is a very cool piece and very, very rare. But again, most people just don't care about it. It sold at $12.25, which again, that's a steal. That's a very, very tough item to get for those of you that collect bootlegs. And what a beauty. That is really, really nice. And then finally, we had a Power of the Force CAS 80 Plus Lando. That one was just late yellowing to the blister and sold for $450. Very fair for what that was, I thought. Very fair price and about what I would have priced it myself. So that one did sell at $450. Anyway, a nice mix of different items here. Just another potpourri edition to keep you guys entertained. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave me a like if you did. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll be back soon.